all of my friends and all of Jason's friends, they would come over to the house, knock on our door, and ask if my dad could come out to play, leaving Jason and me standing there at the front door, kind of with sad looks on our face. Hi everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of Clay's Corner. And happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. In honor of Father's Day, I'm going to do a quick 2-part Clay's Corner on fatherhood. And for today, I want to talk about my father, the late and great Lawrence Kikuo Imo, better known as Larry to all his friends and family. It's hard to believe that it's been almost 12 years since my dad passed away. It was October 11th, 2004, and it was Thanksgiving Monday. And Gail and I had just taken the kids to the pumpkin patch to prepare for Halloween, and we went back home, and we were just getting ready to go over to Gail's mom's place for Thanksgiving dinner. Then we heard a knock on our door, and it was Father Tom Smith, the assistant pastor at the time of St. Paul's, and he asked if he could come in. We were really surprised to see him, obviously. He came in, he told me that, he asked me to sit down, and actually it was kind of strange. I thought he was going to confess or share something with me, but he basically said, "Clay, your dad's gone to heaven." And it was the most shocking and sad news. I couldn't fathom what was going on. And he explained to me that he got a call from my dad's best friend at Burnaby Mountain Golf Course, where my dad and his best friend were playing. It was the 17th hole. My dad had taken his tee shot, probably admiring it as he was walking down the fairway, and then he collapsed. And my dad's best friend tried his best to revive him using CPR, and that failed. And then he had to try and get a hold of me. So what he did is he didn't know my number. He didn't know, my mom's number, or my brother's number. So he just remembered that I worked for the Catholic Church, or the Catholic Archdiocese. So he had his girlfriend at the time, my dad's best friend's girlfriend, start in the white pages and phone every Catholic church in alphabetical order, going down the list, starting with A, then B, then C. Then when they got a hold of Father Michael at Corpus Christi Parish, Father Michael, thankfully, he picked up the phone, even though it's Thanksgiving Monday. I think priests usually take Monday off, especially a holiday. But he picked up the phone, he recognized my name, and he told this woman to call St. Paul's Parish, because that was my home parish. And that's basically how the news got to Father Smith. So Father Smith came over, he told us the bad news. I called my brother, obviously he was very sad. And then I asked Father Smith to drive me to my mom's place. And we got to my mom's place, but the cops had just got there 2 minutes before us. So basically, I went into the living room to find my mom weeping on the floor, lying on the living room floor weeping, and it was one of the most saddest things I've ever seen or experienced. And then we comforted her, and then Jason, my brother, came over, and then we all went over to break the bad news to my dad's mom in the Nikkei Place, the retirement home, the old folks home where she was staying. And that was just as hard as finding my mom, when the cops were there. So it turns out that my dad died of a heart attack. 3 of his 4 arteries were partially blocked in his heart. And I tell you this story not to be a downer or to get all sad or whatever, but there's so many, you could tell that God had his hand on many parts of that day. The fact that my dad's friend and his fiance, the friend's fiance, were able to find us through Father Michael at Corpus Christi Parish. How Father Smith was so loving and caring and respectful in the way he shared the bad news, and in the way that Jason and I were able to be with my mom and my grandma. Not a day goes by where I don't think of my dad or pray for him and ask him to pray for me, because I know he's up in heaven looking down on us. We have a beautiful picture of him in our family room. It shows his warmth, his smile, his sense of humor, his kindness, all in that one picture. And I see so much my dad in all 3 of my kids. Sean is an outstanding athlete. My dad was a very, very good athlete. And in fact, all of my friends and all of Jason's friends, they would come over to the house, knock on our door, and ask if my dad could come out to play, leaving Jason and me standing there at the front door, kind of with sad looks on our face. And I know my dad would be very proud of Sean's many athletic accomplishments right now. Jacob has my dad's charm, his sense of humor, and his smile. And he's very fun to be around. And actually, I find it very hard to get mad at Jacob, just as I'm sure it was very difficult for my mom to get mad at my dad. Actually, come to think of it, I remember my mom getting mad at my dad quite a bit. And Kayla has my dad's playfulness. And I really regret that my dad didn't get a chance to meet Kayla, as Kayla was born 3 years after Dad died. He would have loved her, doted on her, probably spoiled her, as he had me and Jason as his boys, but never really had, obviously didn't have a daughter. So I'm sure he would have loved to spend a lot of time with his granddaughter. One thing that Dad and I had in common, and a real way that we bonded, was through sports, especially the Vancouver Canucks. I remember days where Jason and I would just lie on his bed listening to Jim Robson and Tom Larscheid on CKNW, calling the games, and that would be a wonderful way to spend 3 hours just hanging out with Dad, listening to Vancouver Canucks games on the radio, back in the day where not all the games were televised. Dad would always take time to play sports with us, either basketball or football in the street or street hockey. And our house on Moresby Drive was known as the neighborhood gathering place to play all of these sports. And it'd be a bunch of kids and this Japanese guy with no shirt, all oiled up with a wonderful tan, hanging out with all the kids. And the cool thing about that was my dad never pretended that he was up on pop culture, or that he knew everything about the latest music or the latest movies or TV shows or whatever. And he didn't try and impress all of our friends. He was just who he was. He was playful, he was fun, he was genuine, he was authentic, he had a great sense of humor. And that's why all of our friends, mine and Jason's friends, loved him and loved being around him. And I really try and emulate that with Sean's friends and Jacob's friends and even Kayla's friends to an extent. Is I don't try and be the most popular dad, or I don't try and be the dad that's the best at anything. I just really take a genuine interest in our kids' friends. And I hope that it shows. It might be my experience in youth ministry, or just my genuine really desire to get to know these people and really know who my kids are hanging around with. And that's one thing that I did get from my dad. One thing my dad was horrible at was playing video games, especially NHL on Sega Genesis. And there would be days where me, Jason, and Rich would rush home from UBC and find my dad waiting for us in our family room to play Sega Genesis. He would even set it up for us, pass us our controls, and then it would come to guess, or to basically determine who had to play on whose team, or more accurately, who was going to be stuck with my dad. Because the winning percentages were basically, Jason had a 70% winning percentage, I was about 60 to 65%, and Rich was about in the 55 to 60% range. And my dad, no word of a lie, was probably about 10 or 15%. I don't think he knew what was happening. He didn't understand what color guy he was controlling. I don't even know if he knew what team he was on or which way he was going half the time. So we would actually play rock, paper, scissors to see who was stuck with him. And he was so bad that we would make a rule that you didn't have to play with him 3 games in a row. Like if you played with him twice already, then by default, you didn't have to suffer through a 3rd consecutive game with them. Needless to say, we'd always have a great time playing, a bit of trash talking, a bit of fun ribbing, and it was a wonderful way to relax after a long and stressful day at university. I'm quick to say that it's almost fitting that my dad passed away on Thanksgiving, because I have so much to be thankful for. He was a role model to me. He was a very faithful husband, a loving father. He was a playful grandfather, and a wonderful friend, a great friend to all those around him. He always put the needs of other people ahead of his own, and he had an uncanny ability to make everyone around him feel better about themselves and feel good about themselves. And I like to think that that's one of his many attributes that has been passed down to me. One other thing that I learned from Dad was not to take myself too seriously. Despite the serious responsibilities that I have, or that I think I have, whether at work or in my family or among friends or socially or at church or whatever, is that nothing should be too serious or nothing should be too stressful. And life is meant to be fun. So thank you, Dad, for teaching me what it means to be a man. Thank you, Dad, for showing me how to raise my children. And thank you, Dad, for being my father, my friend, and my hero. I love you and I miss you.